targeted individual. The root of most, if not all, terrorism cases is linked to resentment, bitterness. You could spend many years reading books on risk assessments, counterterrorism, national security, and domestic terrorists, and it always goes back to resentment in most, if not all, cases. When we look at all these cases where these nut jobs committed mass shootings, typically in all these cases, what we see is that there was somebody which was disrespected or felt disrespected, which had bitterness in their heart and took it out on innocent people. Kind of like that act which impacted the CIA a long time ago. Some Pakistani guy went over there to the CIA headquarters, shot a few CIA agents. The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. The Bible doesn't promote murder. Most of our agencies are jam-packed with good men and women. But behind the scenes, there is also a lot of thought police. You may have noticed on YouTube, if you type up targeted individual, you don't see the daily video feeds like you do with video games and other stuff. It's because these people are censored, they are oppressed, and they are stating that they are being targeted by a government entity. Did a prayer last night, and I asked that the Holy Spirit would lead, guide, and direct me and give me insight into my targeting. And when I woke up at 6:05, I grabbed my phone and I looked at the time. I didn't touch a button, and my phone auto-dialed and contacted my cousin at 6:05. I was so embarrassed. The day prior, it happened again. And I remember back in 2003, not 2023, 2003, I had a pastor in my car. I was active in the church, and I had my cell phone in my cup holder. And my friend was like, "Look at your phone." It was calling my aunt in 2003. God bless her soul. She's no longer with us. So I said, "Aunt Betty, I didn't call you." She's like, "What do you mean?" I told her, "I don't know what happened. This has been occurring." Well, did you know that this has occurred on every phone that I've owned since June of 2003? And weeks prior to this, I had drove with a friend to Pensacola, Florida. This guy was running for office, and we were invited to a private event, and a guy from the United States Air Force comes in there, calls me by my name and calls me a spick, and then leaves. So my friend got in the car and we blocked the car in. And we got his VIN number, we got his tag. And we threatened to report him to his base commander. He got nervous then. And we walked away. And the good thing about what happened is that there was 2 camcorders on the front porch where we were at, because this get-together was going to be hosted online on the website for all his sponsors, which were supporting this guy running for office in Pensacola, Florida. There's no U.S. Air Force base there. So I have a lot of proof. Now, my targeting started in 1996. I had a few shady friends. I cut them off when I was interrogated for a murder. I knew them for like 7 months. I don't know if they killed somebody, but obviously somebody killed somebody, because this guy was an Air Force pilot. Ever since then, I've been targeted. So you may notice a lot of these contractors work for different federal agencies. And some are even on the stock market. Just yesterday, I noticed that my IP, I don't even use VPNs no more. Because I figure, why hide? I have nothing to hide. And I go to this website to check my IP. And I type up my IP address. I click this website. It shows me my IP is based in Atlanta, Georgia. And then I look and I notice that my house has like over 100 different addresses. I'm like, what the heck is this? So these perpetrators can broadcast bogus IPs from your phone. And the first thing that came up was FBI surveillance. That was the first thing that came up. And I noticed that every day, if I turn on the Wi-Fi and use Wiggle Wi-Fi, that app will show me the same thing. And I also use it on a phone which is not active. I use other tools and it'll show me the same thing. You may notice that these people may do little skits. They may walk up to you and go, tss. Then the next day it's somebody else at the gas station, the supermarket, the church. And it's when you least expect it. You can be on the third aisle. You could be in line. They may pass by you and do it real loud and walk right out. And you can be shopping. You know what's going on, but other people don't. So they do things in a manner based on deniable plausibility. Don't be surprised if you see your grandmother and then you notice there's some guy spying on you. And when you run his information, it comes up that he's involved in clandestine stuff. He's worked for DOD partners. He has over $1 billion in assets. So these people feel invincible because when they go to police, well, guess what? Your matter's civil. It's not a criminal matter. It's a civil one, which requires serious cash. Well, how the hell are you going to sue somebody which has $1 billion? You could sue them, but most likely you're not going to win. And also, we have politicians, judges, people tied to roundtables. Let me give you an example, like DHS state committees. They work with the Citizens Corps programs. Citizens Corps works with municipalities, county attorneys. So when I was in Texas, there was nothing I could do. Nobody would help because they were all on board. The police officers, the sheriffs, DHS, diffusion centers, they were all on board with this. Even our representatives, the Gang of 8, Gang of 4, and I'm very certain that a lot of these people, fellow TIs, they have stocks with defense contractors. Some of them will say, oh, we'll give you $16,000, $17,000 a month if you give us $1 million, because they're making so much money. I dealt with one contractor when I went to visit my grandmother, right at the place where she's at. He just came, parked, stood outside the retirement center. When I walked in, he walked to his car and left. And every day when I went there, it was something else. Somebody walked, they were just messing with me. And I was always with a relative, my mother, my grandmother. It's 90 years old with no criminal record. It's not about stopping terrorism or national security or public safety. Even the National Security Agency can tell you. It's about messing with people. They mess with people. They go to universities and use offices of community engagement. This is all about enriching people, but targeting some people so that way they can't move ahead because they slap a label on you as a threat. Now, today I went for an e-bike ride, and I decided to burn some calories and walk. So I'm walking with my e-bike, and two guys wearing blue. I see them about 300 yards ahead of me. And I noticed that one of them stops, and he just stares at me. And this other guy, they're both wearing blue. One stops and looks at me and goes, tss. And then I see a woman coming from the opposite direction wearing blue. So I see a bench, I sit down, take a sip of water. Okay, my camera shut down there for a moment, so hopefully it'll stay on. So, the exact moment I passed by these two guys on the way downtown that I had seen earlier, I noticed that they both turned their head and looked at my car. And they both reached for their phones, and they were both using their phones at the same exact time. So I drive up about 100 yards past them, and I noticed a car with the U.S. government tag coming down the road, and it stopped right where they were at. Didn't move. So gang stalking is based on acts which are based on deniable plausibility. In some communities, it's based on utilizing 8A business vendors. This place is filled with hundreds of business owners. And there are many people, fellow TIs, which are just seeking a contract. In their minds, they're working for the government. They're doing something ethical. But what they're not being told is that this contractor is being used to harm a person psychologically in an effort to covertly get a reaction. So this is a very high-risk activity based on promoting violence. Terrorism and violence has been promoted within our system a very, very long time. And it's always masked as crime prevention. You have different terms used like community engagement, public engagement, national security, and so on, which have targeted people and used other people to do it based on false pretenses. When you experience targeting from people, don't be quick to react. I always walk away. And then I get these people's tags. And then I always find out it's a Freemason. I have videos where I'm harassed at Groveland, Florida, at stores for years. They would park their car, walk right in the store and go, "Sss," then they would walk right out. Then the next day was somebody else. Then the next day was somebody else. Every day at a library, a school, a church, when I buy groceries. It can be for a split second. They pass by, whistle, walk right out with nothing in their hands. In a supermarket where every single person which has gone in there has bought something, but they're the only ones that haven't bought anything. So say no to violence, say no to terrorism, fellow TIs. I don't live in a state of bitterness, but I do get disturbed when I see that there are veterans and Freemasons and Israelis and radical feminists, LGBT doing this. Our government's been doing this for a long, long time, and I think Trump may see some aspects of it and has worked to dismantle this program. So if you are targeted by this deep state apparatus, stay prayed up, fellow TIs. God bless and peace.
So they're both wearing blue, and what's really interesting, fellow TIs, is that the exact moment I get back from my bike ride, they pass by me, and this guy looks at me and goes, "Shh." So I didn't think nothing of it. His partner walks back. Look, the U.S. government tag around this vehicle right here. I'm not saying it's their buddy, but I find it really weird that
My targeting has toned down. I remember a few years ago, I was confronted by a group of neighbors all wearing blue, and they're all 8A business vendors. One works for Lockheed Martin. He deals with local neighbors. I was being harassed by Mexicans. I was being harassed by school teachers. And about 3 months ago, I'm biking home. 2 people wearing blue were walking, and I see them walking for like 100 yards, and they come to a complete stop. They whistle, then they walk backwards. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. So theater does occur. Street theater, gang stalking, Israel. And it's always linked to veterans, civic groups, cops, which are mutual aid partners. Most of them are good guys. They're just going along and supporting government contractors. So don't take your anger out on them. Anyways, that's it.